Morning, guys. It is absolutely amazing today. It's June 12th and it rained all night. It is sunny and fresh and like in the low 60s in June. It's insane. I'm so not used to this, but it's amazing. So I figured let's give you a garden tour. And so much has changed. I've done so much. It's been like 2.5 weeks since I filmed the last one. And I have Catherine out here already. And my coffee.
I got you, my mommy. Oh, coffee.
You got my coffee?
Coffee.
Yeah. Coffee.
Oh, no.
So let me show you what I've got going on. You know what? Let's let the chickens out. So the biggest change that I've had in the last 2 weeks is that I now have arched trellises, which I'm so excited about. Don't mind the pool in the background. So I have 3 arch trellises, and I made them out of 16-foot cattle panels and T-posts, and I just attached them with zip ties. This is definitely Jess's work. I mean, come on now. If it hadn't been, okay, if it hadn't been for her, I would never have thought to do this, because let's face it, I'm not that creative. And along with the arch trellises, I've also gotten this last bed here filled finally. So let me tell you a little bit about the dangers of big box stores and $5 plant sales. I came home with 3 new grape vines, a fig tree, and an Arctic kiwi that hopefully I find places for. So the grapes have actually already found a spot. And they're on this arch trellis right here. What do you have?
No.
What's in your hand?
No, my egg.
What is that?
My egg.
It's an egg?
Yeah, my egg, my way.
From that way?
Right.
Oh. We've got gorgeous sunflowers growing. Getting bigger and bigger. On this first guy here, we got beans growing. So another big difference is that I've managed to mulch most of what's planted. So I've managed to mulch. Baby. So I've managed to mulch most of what's planted, and
Papa,
these roosters are on borrowed time, that's for sure. They're over here harassing these hens. That's a project for this week. Since my peppers were doing so poorly, I decided to go ahead and start some new peppers, see how that goes, and I went a little willy-nilly with like marigold seeds and herbs that didn't survive the first time, so. The thing about these 6-cell starters is that I didn't label them. I know that I have marigold, which has come up. I can tell what that is. I have a 6-pack full of herbs that I didn't label. And I have 3 with peppers that I didn't label. And I don't even know what the last one is. Surprise! But you know what? I kind of like doing it that way because when it grows up, I get a little surprise of what it is, and I can just plug things wherever I want. I don't remember which pepper varieties I sowed. All of the ones that I had, at least 1 cell of every single pepper that I had. So I'm gonna plug them around, and they're all pretty distinctive from each other. So once they start to grow fruit, I'll know what they are. So now the sun's starting to really like peek up. We've got all these sunflowers just facing the sun, loving life. Yeah. And these dahlias back here are really starting to grow up a little bit. I was really worried about all the rain that we had had and that these black and white dianthus wouldn't survive. I got these seeds from Jess, and I was really hoping that they would survive because I loved the color combination. Catherine. This is my orange Jing okra that I got from Baker Creek during the shindig, and it's got some leaf miner issues going on. I've had some pest problems, and I've been meaning to spray neem for a while, but every time I get around to doing it, there's rain in the forecast, and then I would have to do it again. So I think I'm really just going to end up biting the bullet, spray tonight, and I'll just have to reapply when it stops raining. All right, let's talk about greens. I have had some things bolt, mostly arugula, and I'm actually really shocked that it's mid-June and I still have a whole bunch of lettuce and kale and all sorts of stuff growing in my green garden bed because usually by now everything's gone. To be fair, we've had an unseasonably cool spring / early summer, so I'm not complaining. We have a volunteer tomato plant here that seems to be thriving in between all these greens. I also have beans popping up here for the trellis that I had just planted. This one was already here that I started inside, and I couldn't remember which one was the bush bean and which one was the pole bean. And now that it's been a few days, I've realized that this one is the pole bean because it's continuing to grow up like that. And this one is the bush bean, and I'm just gonna let it stay here. And so, one slight casualty of these beautiful arch trellises has been my really big established chamomile plant. It's still alive, it's just kind of knocked over. The trellis hits it right at the base of the roots, and it has ants all in here. So it's not blooming as nicely as it was. But right behind it, we've got round 2. So what I'm going to do is until these beans get a little established, I'm going to kind of, I don't know, hold on, let me sit you down. Man, my hands smell amazing now. So we have a little bit of arugula left just behind that I didn't pull it from the roots and give to the chickens. And that's going to be pulled up soon because even with it cut down, it's not going to last very much longer. The kale, on the other hand, still looks great. I cut a whole bunch down just a few days ago because I decided to have kale and eggs. Yummy. We have this I can't get rid of you mint going on here. And Fishy in the background. Fishy. 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 What are you doing? So as it bolts, I've been pulling it out and giving it to the chickens. And they sure don't mind. My chard has chunks pulled out of it because my kids have realized that it's edible. So they've been literally just coming out here and going, food, ripping off a piece of the leaves and just munching on them. I'm so pleased with how this chard turned out. I had never grown chard before I started inside. It was super leggy and I had 3 seedlings. I planted all 3 out here and 2 of them died like almost immediately. And this one's the only one that survived. And not only did it survive, but it thrived. Like, I'd never expected leaves bigger than my head. I posted a picture on Instagram, on my Instagram stories yesterday. By the time you see this, it'll be long gone. But it was bigger than my head. Just that one leaf was enough to mix in with like a little bit of kale and some eggs and some tomatoes, and that was a whole meal. It was amazing, and I had no idea that it grew that big. And it's definitely one of my favorite greens to eat. I will be growing a lot more chard for the fall, that's for sure. 2 things that have made such unbelievable differences, like such big growth strides in the last 2 weeks, has been my melons and my cucumbers. And I'm so pleased with how quickly these have grown. My melon here, sending out its little tendrils all over the place. I'm so excited about this. No blossoms yet, but the fact that it's growing up is pretty pleasing. And then the cucumber is just exploding. And this variety is called Tokyo Green cucumber. I bought it because it specifically said bitter free, never bitter. I had a big problem last year of all my cucumbers being bitter to the point of being inedible. And I know a lot of that has to do with like fluctuations in water, and I live in a somewhat more arid climate than I used to. But still, I water every evening. At least the cucumbers I do. So hopefully these will not be bitter. I've got some cinnamon basil getting attacked like crazy. Here's a lipstick pepper that I got from my friend Amanda. When all my peppers failed, when all my peppers failed, hey Fishy. When all my peppers failed, she pulled through and provided me with some lipstick peppers, which has been awesome. Hey, bud. What are you doing? So I've really tried to stay on top of pruning my tomatoes. and for the most part, I've done a pretty decent job. It's almost time for me to stake them up, which will happen soon. But I have let some suckers get a little out of hand, and they're to the point where it would be a detriment to the plant to pick them off. So I guess they'll be a little wilier than I expected or intended, but they're setting off flowers, so let me show you. There are parts that get more sun than others, so there's less variation here than, say, back here, which gets more shade. I've kind of supported this a little bit. I need to make sure that it doesn't get entangled because that's not its permanent, obviously not going to be its permanent support system, but looky here. So I originally had 4 calendulas planted here, 2 Orange King and 2 Strawberry Blonde. I didn't label them because, like I said earlier, I like the surprise of when they pop up. And Catherine, seeing me weed like this, pulled the one that was here and the one that was here up. I attempted to put them back, and one died and one managed to survive somehow. I mean, it's got some dead spots, but it came back somehow. Obviously not as big as the other 2, but it's better than nothing. And then back here, my zinnia also being eaten by something, hence, again, I need to spray badly, is so incredibly close to flowering. I am so pleased. And here are the rest of here are my bush beans, the rest of the ones that were sowed a few days ago. These are a yellow variety from Baker Creek, beurre de something butter beans. They're yellow string bean. And then these ever-bearing strawberries are starting to flower again. These are the Fort Laramie. Ozark Beauty. Boo! And my June bearing eclair strawberries. The sage is looking amazing. And here is another zinnia that I planted much later than the first one that I showed you, so not as much growth, but it's getting there. And check out that new baby okra. This is a Clemson spineless. All my seedlings did not make it, so I direct sowed. These are my Brad's Atomic Grape.
What you want?
We've got some more lipstick peppers and some tomatoes here. Tomato here. This is a volunteer. Okay. A volunteer marigold. And we got some more tomatoes here and here. There was one here, but it got decapitated by a chicken. And another lipstick pepper. And what I'm going to do here is add some more soil, weed it, add some more soil and compost, and then mulch. Alright, everyone's fed now. So let's finish this tour. Surprise, surprise, I got my apple trees in the ground finally. This one's a Golden Delicious. This one here in the middle is a Fuji, and it and check that out. Da, 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 da. Look at that tiny baby apple. I'm so excited about this. The only problem that I have with this tree is that it's covered in aphids and little bitty caterpillars. It's just flea beetles, aphids, all sorts of stuff. The leaves over here. And that's why I need to spray neem oil. Look at that, just completely covered. Yuck. But it's doing pretty good otherwise. And then the last one over here is also a Golden Delicious. It doesn't have any fruit on it yet like the other ones, but dun dun dun, this needs to be sprayed too. Over here, we got another leaf totally covered in pests. So that is going to happen tonight for sure. So then we have our elderberries, also kind of looking like they've been attacked by some flea beetles and munching stuff. And that will be very easily rectified tonight when I spray them. Now for my front yard berry patch, and for the most part everything here is thriving. I have to weed these beds pretty heavily. I have not done this. I didn't have the forethought to do it before filming this, but I wanted to show you how things were going. And sad to say that the raspberries aren't doing as great as I hoped they would, but everything else is doing really great. My extremely overgrown raspberry bed, I'm almost certain this cane is dead. All the leaves have dried up and fallen off. And I think it was probably from all of the rain that we had. This cane has suffered a similar fate. And as I scratch it, I'm not seeing green. I'm only seeing brown. This one as well. This one on the other hand was still green the other day when I scratched it. I'm not so sure anymore. That's new. But worst case scenario, I pull those 3 cans out and start over. Man, I really need to weed this bed. But this last one here is still alive and thriving, and it's actually looking better than it did when I originally put it in here. When I first put it in here, it had all these leaves looked a little sickly, but the new growth is all healthy, and I'm real thrilled about that. At least one of the 4 has made it. Then we have our blueberries. Not so sure about this one. Looks a little questionable. I've never had grown blueberries before, so that doesn't look great. But these ones over here, we've got new growth. They're growing, so could be worse. And this one as well has a bunch of new growth, so they seem to be slightly happier than they were in their pots. And check it out, we got a little bitty blossom there. So down here too, got little bitty blueberries. Check it out, we got blueberries. Whoop whoop. Whoop whoop. Blueberries. Nope. Focus on the blueberries, not on the mulch. Come on, camera. Cooperate. So, that's exciting. Here's some more exciting news. And those would be blueberries. That's exciting. Not many, but hey, better than none. We've got our blackberries. And the newest addition is this grape patch. I finished building it, you saw that, and then I mulched it and planted our grapes. We've got some green and purple grapes. Some are Concord and some are green seedless. I'll have to look up the exact variety, but I got these in the ground because they were starting to supper. They wanted to get in the ground. And looky here, they are thrilled to be in the ground. And I've yet to decide what type of trellis I want to put these on. So luckily they're still smaller, but they're happy, and that's all that matters. So there's my front yard berry patch and grapes. And now for the very last part of my garden tour, the front yard herb and flower bed that I cleaned up on Mother's Day. I've got this flat leaf parsley that looks puny and pathetic because it's not in the ground, but everything else looks beautiful. Beautiful lavender. Lemon balm, oregano, lemon thyme, curled parsley, some chocolate mint, rosemary. That deep plummy purple makes my heart sing. They're my absolute favorite petunias. And I hope the camera does it justice. Hopefully that lavender and that rosemary, and honestly everything else in here, they're perennials. Basically all of these are perennials except for the parsley. And I'm hoping they really take over this space. And that next year they really cover that less than sightly gas meter. Honestly. And that lavender can grow up, and the rosemary will grow up. And the mint and the lemon balm all kind of like take over a little bit. This was completely overgrown with like invasive weeds. I debated whether or not I should pull out that decorative grass. Right now it's fine, but you can tell there in the corner those invasive weeds are really starting to creep back in again, and I need to cut that big old weed down right here. So some of you that have been following me on Instagram and on YouTube for a little bit longer know that our tree here in the front yard died last year and we had to cut it down. So we're left with this huge stump here, and I'm not sure what to do with it. I don't want to get rid of it, but I do want to integrate it somehow into my garden. And I'm not sure how to do that. I considered drilling into it and planting in it, or having it be a fairy garden. So if you have an idea of what to do with that stump that's creative, that integrates it into the garden somehow, comment it down below. And I just need ideas because eventually this entire front yard is going to end up being fenced in and filled with garden beds. And I have a plan. I have a big old divot right over here where I think there used to be a big tree and they tore it out. I don't know if you can tell. There's a big divot right here. And I have some ideas of what to do with that. It'll be framed with raised beds all around it. I'm not going to tell you what I want to do with it yet because I don't know if that's what I'm going to do. But I have a plan for it. And it involves herbs and something that Heirloom Permaculture has recently posted about. So, yeah, let me know your ideas of what to do with that stump. And we'll see how we can make that a little bit of a more beautiful part of the garden. So I hope you liked this garden tour, and I'll see y'all again soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.